What can you learn in the next 21 minutes? We are here to find out. Hi, I am your host, Kiki L'Italienne. And today on the 21 in 21 Talks, we are going to have a very special topic for you. I know it's one that everyone is so excited to hear about. But in case you're new here, in case you don't know what the 21 in 21 Talks are all about, 21 in 21 Talks are where invited speakers share their 21-minute talk about any topic that they want to talk about. It could be from beer brewing to building a business. You name it, they're probably talking about it. And all of this series consists of 21 talks that are 21 minutes long happening in I'm so caught up. I'm so excited. Happening in 2021. All right. So 21 in 21. Speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them completely. They can speak to you extemporaneously. They can speak to you through their dog. As long as they don't go over 21 minutes, we're good. All talks can be watched live or as replays on the Association Chat YouTube channel. And if you think somewhere in your psyche that supporting Association Chat is something you should do, investigate it, research it, find out. And you can do that by becoming a Patreon patron by visiting patreon.com/association chat, all one word. So for this special 21 in 21 talk, we are featuring Paula Gonzalez. Today, Paula is going to share with us lessons learned from playing roller derby that can be applied to business, from communications to leadership. That is intense. I am so excited. Paula, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kiki. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are listening from. As Kiki said, my name is Paula Gonzalez. I am an association membership professional with over 18 years of experience in association management. I currently serve as the Senior Manager of Membership Growth at the American Association of Port Authorities, or AAPA, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C. I have been with them since December 2020, and prior to my role at AAPA, I spent 18 years at Produce Marketing Association in Newark, Delaware, where I spent the majority of my career as a member relations manager. In my current role, I focus primarily on membership acquisition and serving as a staff liaison to a committee. And at PMA, I was responsible for membership retention, engagement, volunteer leadership, project management, event management, content creation, budget management, and I worked on marketing and communication campaigns, you name it. I was probably involved in it. And throughout this time, in my career, I have also been an active member and volunteer with the American Society of Association Executives, ASAE. I served 5 years on their Gold Circle Awards Committee as a volunteer member and as their chair, and also on their International Association Advisory Council. Outside of my day job, I play roller derby. I have been skating with Diamond State Roller Derby in Newark, Delaware. My derby name, as you can see here on the screen, is Treble Maker, because I am also a musician. I sing, I perform in choirs, I sing for my church, I do musical theater. I'm a professional Christmas caroler with Old Town Carolers. So if anyone is ever looking to hire carolers in the Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Baltimore, DC, Chicago metropolitan areas, I know a company that you could hire. Shout out. My derby number is 1863 because my husband and I were married in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So if you know U.S. history, the Civil War Battle of Gettysburg occurred July 1st through the 3rd in 1863. I have been skating with Diamond State Roller Derby since January 2017. I got into it because one of my colleagues at Produce Marketing Association was the MC for Diamond State, and his wife was the president at the time. And he told me the team would be starting a class for new skaters, which, by the way, they call new skaters skater tots, cute name. And I actually wasn't really considering joining or doing it until I told my sister about it. She also worked at Produce Marketing Association at the time. And she thought it would be a fun thing for us to do together. And I had a pretty busy schedule with musical rehearsals at the time, so I wasn't really looking for another activity to do, but I thought, okay, it could be a pretty fun activity to do with my sister. So we went to a free clinic that they were holding at the time to try it out. And my plan was that I wouldn't do it if she wasn't interested. And it turned out that she didn't enjoy it, but I went and I had a good time. So she decided not to pursue it, and I went against my plan, and I decided I was going to keep going. So I was testing to join the team in 2019 when I had a pretty bad ankle sprain, and I was dealing with that ankle sprain still in 2020 when COVID hit. So in full disclosure for this presentation, I did not skate with the team in any official bouts. But that said, I feel like I learned a lot about communications and leadership as I was working to join the team. So before I get into the lessons I learned, I'm guessing that there may be a few of you watching who may not be too familiar with the rules of roller derby. So I'll start by providing a quick overview of how the game is played. Those of you who may have watched roller derby when it was televised back in the 1980s, you may associate it with banked tracks and aggressive, dramatic, and even dangerous moves like players elbowing each other and hitting each other over the side rails. Well, I'll tell you, my experience is a little bit different from this. It is still an aggressive and dangerous sport, don't get me wrong, but we have pretty strict rules that govern for our safety. Diamond State Roller Derby plays under the Women's Flat Track Derby Association. That's right, I said association. And you'll hear me call them WFTDA or WIFTA for short. WIFTA is the international governing body for the sport of women's flat track roller derby, and they are a membership organization for leagues to collaborate and network. They set the rules that keep the players safe. So, what are the rules and how is the game played? There are 2 teams on an oval track, each with up to 5 players, with each team consisting of 1 jammer who will be wearing a star on their helmet. And the jammer's job is to break through the opposing team's blockers and then pass them as many times as they can to score points. And then there are 4 blockers whose job are to stop the opposing team's jammer from getting through. And one of those blockers may be a pivot who will be wearing a stripe on their helmet. They may take over the role of the jammer if their jammer gets stuck or tired, as long as that jammer legally passes their star cover to the pivot. Jammers earn points after they break through the pack of all the opposing blockers and go around the track once. They begin to accumulate 1 point for every opposing player that they pass. The first jammer to break through the pack and legally get past all the skaters in the pack is called the lead jammer, and they may call off the jam at any time during that jam as long as they don't get called on a penalty. The opposing blockers will try to stop the jammer while helping their own jammer to get through the pack. 2 15-skater teams play 2 30-minute periods. Each period consists of multiple jams. Each jam is an opportunity for both teams to score points, and the jam ends after 2 minutes or when the lead jammer calls off the jam. It is legal for a skater to block opponents with their hips, rear, and shoulders. It is not legal to block to the back, to trip, elbow, or to backtalk officials. Players committing illegal actions are penalized 30 seconds and their team plays short for that time. Okay, there's a lot more to it than that from what I've given here, but now that I've given you a very basic summary of how the game of roller derby is played, let's get into the lessons that I have learned and how I think they apply to the business world. Lesson number 1. Know which messages to tune in and which to tune out. Roller derby action is really quick and chaotic, and the bout arenas can get super loud with people shouting at you from all angles, fans, coaches, teammates. And when that whistle blows to start the jam and the action starts and the pack starts skating around the track, it can be confusing and even overwhelming, especially to a newer player, to know which voice to listen to or to listen for. Before a game, our coach always tells us to only listen for the voice of the coach or the turn coach's voice. The turn coach is going to be there to tell the lead jammer if they should keep going or call off the jam. And the coach always instructs the team members who are waiting on the side to not yell at the players on the track so they don't get distracted or confused, and to make it easier for them to find the coach's voice. So for example, if the coach is shouting at a player who has broken away from the pack, that they need to get back together with the other blockers to help them block a jammer who is coming up on them, but the other players on the side are yelling at the jammer, trying to send them a message, maybe trying to tell them which lane to go in to avoid the opposing blockers, that could make it hard for that wayward blocker to hear what the coach is trying to say to them. It's the same in the business world. It can sometimes be distracting with so many voices and messages in the media, from competitors, from consumers, trolls on social media, naysayers. So it's really important to have your messaging buttoned down, to stick to it, and to be prepared for negative responses, and to have a plan for how you want to respond, if at all, to those responses. And it's also important to train and communicate those messages and plans to your staff so that no one accidentally sends a wrong message. For example, say your company is in talks to merge with a competitor. And this is something that your members or your customers and the media love to talk about and have been talking about for a long time. These merger talks are likely generating a lot of noise. So you need to have a really clear communication plan with FAQs, and your staff need to know what they are allowed to say and what they are not allowed to say. They need to know what are the policies for making comments on social media, as individuals on their personal accounts, as well as their professional accounts, so that they don't accidentally or inadvertently say something that they shouldn't. Lesson number 2, be comfortable giving and receiving feedback. In sports, you will never improve your skills if you aren't able to listen to and act upon feedback that someone gives you. And if you don't improve, you will only hold your team back. Feedback is a gift. When someone takes the time to show you how to do something, it isn't because they're trying to tell you that you're doing something wrong, or their way is better, or they're rubbing your nose in it. It's because they want to see you succeed and they want the team to succeed. When someone gives you that gift, you should take it to heart and really listen to do your best to apply what they have shown you. As a player who was learning roller derby, I received feedback constantly from coaches and fellow players at every single practice. And that's what practices are for, and that's how we learn, right? But it wasn't just me as a new player who was receiving feedback. Every single player on our team was receiving feedback. Even the most seasoned and experienced players received feedback at those practices. And sometimes even the coaches did too. And the same goes for giving feedback. Your team will only be stronger if you take the time to give the gift of feedback. If you see an opportunity to strengthen your team by helping someone improve a skill, give them the feedback they need to get them to that next level. In derby practice, if a teammate made a maneuver in practice that perhaps didn't make a lot of sense in the drill or scenario we were running, I'm going to go talk them through why it wasn't such a good move and what would have made more sense and why, so they understand what to do next time. It's the same in business. You want your team to be the best it can be, and you want to be the best teammate you can be. This means if someone gives you feedback, you should take it seriously and work to improve whatever skill your colleague took the time to coach you on. And conversely, if you see a colleague who can improve a skill, kindly help them out by giving them the feedback they need. It will only make your team stronger. For example, If I see a colleague use a very casual tone in a broadcast communication that is going out to members or customers that goes against our brand, I'm going to take the time to coach and provide feedback to that colleague to help them understand how that impacts the company and why they should stick to the brand standards and guidelines. That feedback will help them improve their communication skills and business acumen and will strengthen our team and our communications moving forward. Lesson number 3, see something, say something. Everyone can be a leader. As I mentioned, with all the chaos and fast action that occurs on the track during a jam, it's super important that those players who see a problem and have the presence of mind to know what to do in that moment to solve it, that they speak up. There's no time to consider other people's feelings or politics, or should I be the one to say something, or to second guess yourself like we might sometimes do in a different kind of setting. You need to act fast or you will get hit or run over, or the opposition will be past you before you know it. For example, say I'm on the track facing backwards, and I can see that the opposing team's jammer is quickly approaching. I am with 2 of my blockers, and I can see that we have the outside lanes 2 through 4 covered, but that the inside lane 1, is completely open. And I see that the jammer sees this as well, and she is heading straight for it. I see that one of my blockers is playing offense, trying to help our jammer, who is currently stuck behind the opposing blockers, and she doesn't see the jammer is coming. She's close enough to block lane 1 and is able to get there, so I shout to her. I shout her name, and I say lane 1, and I point to where she needs to go. She automatically understands what's happening and quickly moves to block the jammer. I'm not a coach or the most experienced or senior player on that track, but I was in the best position to see what was happening and to know what needed to be done, so I stepped in to take control of the situation. In business, staff should feel empowered to do the same. If you want your team and your company to function at its best, you should allow them to step in and correct errors or make improvements as soon as they see an opportunity to do so. If you make them wait to go through proper bureaucratic channels, you could find that it could be too late. Lesson number 4, it takes a village. We don't just learn from our supervisors, leaders, coaches, and teachers. We also learn from our peers, teammates, and colleagues. Sometimes the way one person teaches or shows you something, for some way it might not click with you. And then someone else comes along and shows you a different way of looking at it, and ding, aha, suddenly it makes sense and you get it. For example, I was really struggling to learn how to do this particular maneuver called a T lateral, which is where you start standing on one skate facing forward, and then you push off gliding with the other skate facing laterally. And then when you get to the other side, the other skate is facing forward and this skate is facing laterally. And I was having a lot of trouble understanding how my coaches were teaching this maneuver. Until one day, one of my teammates showed me how she would practice it while holding onto the rail. And suddenly I was able to do it. And as I practiced it and got better at doing it along the rail, I was able to do it without holding onto the rail. The other teammate who showed me how to do it, she wasn't a coach or a leader in any official capacity, but that didn't matter to her or to me or to anybody else. Even if you aren't serving in an official supervisor, coach, teacher, or leadership role, that doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity to teach someone something new. If you're having difficulty or struggling with something, understanding or learning a particular skill, don't be afraid to go to a colleague or a peer or someone else to come at it from a different angle. You never know when you might get that aha moment. It feels so good to have those breakthrough moments. Lesson number 5. There's always room for improvement, no matter what your level or experience. True champions never stop trying to improve, even when they reach the top. I've seen it with the top Derby teams and icons that so many of us players look up to. And even if you aren't familiar with Derby, take a look at the top players in any sport. Do they reach the number one spot and say, okay, I made it to number one. That's it. I can stop working now. No, they keep going because they know that that number two player is right behind them, nipping at their heels for that number one spot. And they don't want to give it up. They just got there. Tennis fans will understand the examples of Roger Federer and Serena Williams. They both hold multiple records and could retire if they wanted, but they aren't satisfied because they still feel like there's still more that they could accomplish. So they're still out there playing. It needs to be the same in business. The world is always changing. Technology and the way we communicate is changing so rapidly. New trends and fads pop up, and before we can react, they're gone, and the world has moved on to the next one. So we need to recognize that with so many changes constantly happening around us, that we can't possibly know it all, and that we need to keep learning and educating ourselves in order to keep up with the changing world. No matter how experienced we are and how long and storied a career we've had, there is always opportunity to learn and grow and improve. For example, I'm a Gen Xer and I live up to the stereotype and sometimes struggle with technology. So I'm always working to improve my knowledge and understanding of new technologies and social media platforms. I still haven't even been on TikTok. But I need to learn and keep up with these trends and platforms and technologies because consumers use them and companies use them. So I need to as well if I want to remain relevant and marketable to employees. So those are the lessons that I've learned and that I have to share with you today. Thank you so much, Kiki, for inviting me to give this talk today. I wish I could have given this presentation live in person with some fellow skaters, as I think it would be fun to give some demonstrations. But this was a really fun idea, and I appreciate you sharing your platform with me and the other speakers who have presented as well. Before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to my teammates at Diamond State Roller Derby. I really miss skating with you and hitting you and being hit by you. I hope we get to return to the track soon. And I'd like to say to anyone who has never seen a roller derby bout before, I really encourage you to go see one when they resume. There are teams all over the world. I'm sure if you look online, you could find one not too far from you, especially if you live near a city. And if you don't have a team close to you, you can easily find games to watch on YouTube. Thanks again for listening. Take care and have a great day.
Oh, this was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Paula. It's amazing. Cheers, cheers, cheers. We're all very, very impressed, I am sure. I know because I was reading the comments as you were presenting, and I think a lot of people will take some really important lessons away from your experience with roller derby today. And with that, I just want to ask all of you, now you are 21 minutes, hear about 21 minutes wiser about the leadership lessons you can learn from roller derby. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to apply that? What happens next? That's up to you. So as you know, with Association Chat, we're really focused on learning. And so the next step for all of you is to ask more questions. You ask more questions to keep learning every day. Because why? Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.